Hello, everybody. My name is Aaron. I'm from Correlate, and thank you for joining us today on our Botanical-to-Bottle Sustainable Product Development webinar. Thanks, everybody, for joining this special online event. Today, we're joined with three experts within the all-natural, eco-friendly beauty and skincare movement. First, we have molecular biologist and Harvard researcher Olga Goldberger, who will dive deep into the science behind ingredient selection. Olga formulated her skincare line without emulsifiers, which disrupt the skin's natural biome. Next, we have sustainable lifestyle expert Laurie Miller, founder of the high-end Nani Pua Skincare line. She will dive into sourcing eco-friendly botanical ingredients. In addition to founding her line of beauty care products, she is also a beekeeper, conservationist, and she grows botanicals on her very own farm, which she uses in her products. And finally, we have our Correlate retail tech founder and CEO, Sukanya Ramabadran, who will walk us through driving customer awareness. Sukanya has spent over a decade in the consumer goods and retail industries, working with Fortune 500 brands like Coca-Cola and L'Oreal. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, let's dive right in. We'll start with you, Laurie. And why don't you just tell us a little bit more about your background?
Well, my background was I grew up in upstate New York, and I would spend my summers on a farm at my aunt's farm, and she was a master gardener. And she had a real passion for herbs. And she shared every year, she shared that love of gardening and herbs, and also the medical properties of herbs, which, as you know, as a kid, you never even think of those things. And it just something clicked inside of me. It was like resonated in who I was. And that passion has never left me. And as you know, as I got into my 20s, I would start kitchen formulating like so many young women, oh, we're going to get coconut oil and rosemary oil, and we're going to put it in our hair. And I did that, and I started buying any book that I could find on natural beauty, on creating natural skincare. And then in my later 20s, I moved over to Hawaii and started doing research on plants, which is why we came up with Nani Pua, which means beautiful flower in Hawaiian. Doing the research on their botanicals that they have in the islands and their plants. And I got a job in Kauai working with the conservation department. And that's where my conservation and herbal love kind of came together. And it is who I am today. 17 years ago, we purchased 147 acres in Southern California, which is crazy. And we spent the last 17 years restoring this property and doing conservation on it. We removed a number of non-natives. We work with the USDA, creating wildlife habitat on the property and bringing natives back onto the property that were taken over by invasive species. And through that, learning the medical properties of these herbs that are native on our land.
Thank you for that. Kauai is a really beautiful island, and so it makes sense. Anyone who follows your Instagram account knows how beautiful your farm is, and so it totally makes sense. It all comes together. Olga, our next question is for you. Welcome. A lot of brands. Hi. Hello. A lot of brands use marketing copy which combine science and natural botanicals. With your background as a Harvard researcher, can you tell us what guides your approach?
Sure. I worked in science labs all my life since I was 17. And for the last maybe 22 years, I had a hobby of making my personal products for myself, for my family, for my friends. It's all because I realized that I am sensitive to emulsifiers in the skincare products. and I figured out the way to make them without using chemical emulsifiers. So my science background really was helpful in researching the papers and choosing natural but effective complex active ingredients, because I was able to check in vitro data and in vivo data in the science papers. In vitro means in cells, and in vivo means in human subjects. So my experience in the lab helped me to choose the best anti-aging ingredients that are beneficial to mitochondria, a tiny part of the cell that is called the powerhouse of our cells. It is a tiny but very powerful organelle, which is really important in aging and especially in skin aging.
Excellent. Thank you for that breakdown. Welcome, Sukanya.
Hey, Aaron.
Hello. We're seeing the retail landscape and consumer behavior undergo dramatic transformation. Consumers are more aware and brand conscious than ever before. Given the presence of platforms like Instagram and Etsy, how does tech play a role in bringing consumers' favorite products to retail stores?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Aaron. And Forbes actually says that 91% of consumers actually read product labels before making a buying decision. So it's huge, and they are conscious in a big way. And the internet has actually powered their searches to help learn how these chemical ingredients affect their bodies and what they put on their bodies and the consequences of using these products. So there's this dramatic consumer shift trends towards clean and conscious products, and they want to have a shared purpose with the brands that they buy from, of saving the planet or conservationism, of a farm to bottle model and things like that. And so driven by all of this, Instagram and Etsy has helped propel a lot of brands to directly to consumers in a big way. What we want to do at Correlate is use the power of tech to bring these brands onto retail shelves, because we're seeing the retail landscape shift too. And there is a rise of the zero waste stores and the refill stores where they absolutely don't have any plastic waste generated. And we want to bring these eco-conscious brands to those shelves. So making that connection there is really important to us to drive this movement forward in the B2B world.
You're right. I think you said it. It's important. It's important work. Thank you for that. Laurie, our next question is for you, and it is about the term plant-based. Customers are becoming more savvy. They have become wary of the term greenwashing or false claims made by clean beauty producers. What are a few botanical ingredients that you use, and how do they meet the expectations of today's customers?
Well, first of all, plant-based, I think that we're seeing a lot of fillers in products right now. And what an indie buyer is looking for is really plant-based. That means that they pick up, they turn the label, which they are savvy. They're reading the label now. And if they can't understand what that word is, and then they will look it up. And if it isn't plant-based, it's derived from a plant, they're not going to buy it. And so we're dealing with a very savvy customer now. So for us, we've done a lot of research. And anyone that's starting an indie company, you really need to be passionate about what you put into your product. You need to believe in what you're putting into your product so that you can stand behind it. And as you go into a lab, they're going to try to say, oh, use this, it's a filler, it's a little bit cheaper. And you really need to stand your ground and really produce a plant-based product. We use a number of beautiful things in our products: sandalwood seed oil, jojoba oil, guava seed oil. As you can see, there's this little theme, a very Hawaii theme going on. We use Hawaiian sandalwood essential oil. We grow the lavender and we put that into our products also. And everything that we use in our products is organic. And that's another trend people are looking for right now.
Excellent. Thank you for that answer. Olga, our next question deals with one of my favorites, chemistry. We are mixing agents. What are mixing agents and why are they necessary when producing beauty products? Can you please explain what they do, why they're necessary, product and formulas for beauty products?
Sure, yeah. So mixing agents are typically used in skincare products to help mix otherwise unmixable oil and water. And they're called emulsifiers. So like over 95% of skincare brands out there would use emulsifiers as their mixing agents because they're not expensive, they are largely unregulated. But great majority of emulsifiers on the market are synthetic, and many of them are single greatest cause of adverse reactions, even more than perfumes. There are many types of synthetic emulsifiers. You can kind of identify them on the label. They are usually listed as ingredients ending with like ETH, like Laures, and ingredient names containing syllable oxynol, PG, polyethylene glycol, PG8 laurate, polyethylene, polysorbate, and many others. But most people don't realize that emulsifiers in skincare products we use can impair our skin's transepidermal water loss, TEWL. Emulsifier actually can stay in your skin longer after you finished using the product. And every time you wash your face, they will help you lose natural lipids, natural oils from your skin cells, thus ultimately making your skin drier. So skincare products without those emulsifiers are especially beneficial for people with dry skin, sensitive skin, rosacea, or acne. But there is a natural alternative to chemical emulsifiers. And this alternative is called phospholipids. Those are natural molecules coming from either soy or sunflower. So they are in a way similar to emulsifiers because both emulsifiers and phospholipids have water-loving or hydrophilic and oil-loving or lipophilic part in the same molecule. So they can bind both oil and water. But in contrast to chemical emulsifiers, phospholipids are completely harmless to your body and your skin. In fact, they're actually very similar in structure to the very skin cells, membranes that cosmetic products are trying to protect and rejuvenate. So not only they help bind oil and water together, but they also are superior skin restorative agents, moisturizers. And they also have an ability to produce liposomes during the manufacturing process, which are tiny vehicles that help deliver bioactive ingredients deep into your skin. Unfortunately, phospholipids are rarely used in high concentrations in the formulas because of the high cost and the difficulty in formulating stable products. So I wish that they would be used more.
Excellent. It's so crazy to me that something that is so necessary to create these products isn't regulated.
Right.
So our next question, we're going to go back to you, Laurie. What are your top 3 considerations that qualify ingredients as botanical or plant-based?
Plant-based just, for me, plant-based just means it's come from a nut, seed, flower, fruit, vegetable. That is plant-based for me. And so, and like we said before, that's what the consumers are looking for right now.
Excellent. Olga, our next question deals with an important part of creating beauty products. Consumers might not know about this either. They're called stabling agents. Why are they necessary, and what do they do when producing beauty products?
Sure. Stabilizers are necessary to stabilize emulsions, water and oil mixed together. So stabilizers need help maintain the function and activity of other ingredients in the formula, like pH value, So adding a stabilizer to cosmetic formulation will help emulsion stability and improve the shelf life of the emulsion. So there are natural stabilizers we use in our formulas like xanthan gum, Candelia wax, lecithin, butyl alcohol, beeswax, acacia gum, and some others. The other group, antioxidants, can also help stabilize the formulation since they destroy free radicals and keep oils from getting rancid. So adding plenty of antioxidants, including oil and water-soluble ones, and thickeners like xanthan gum will help keep the formula stable, and it's necessary for a successful product.
Thank you. Our next question is for Laurie. What advice do you have for brands when choosing the sourcing channel for their ingredients? How do you evaluate that cost benefit evaluation for local farms versus the commercial wholesalers that are out there?
For an indie brand that's starting out, to launch a brand is very expensive. And so I think initially look for a big supplier that will supply organic, whatever oil, jojoba oil. If you're looking for jojoba, find that big supplier and get a sample. They will give you a sample. Get a sample. I try to get 3 samples from 3 different suppliers of organic. I get them. If it's a nut or seed like that, then I ask them when was their press date. And when you start doing research you start to look as when a jojoba bean is actually ripe, and you know that they're going to press pretty much after that time. And so you start looking at press date, how long is the shelf life, and then you get 3 samples from 3 different producers, and you smell them. Your nose is going to tell you whether it's rancid or not really quick. Look for reviews. And then when you're choosing for an indie brand, if you're choosing to go with a smaller farm, like if you're going to use raspberry seed oil, we can get that here in the US. So obviously it's double that it's going to cost you twice as much as from getting it from an organic farm in India. But you're going to create a relationship with that small farm, and people want to, if that's part of your story, and it's a story that you want to tell, just choose one small farm. And as your product starts to grow and you can afford to choose another farm, then do that. And you're supporting the farmers here in the US and also throughout the whole world. You can choose small farmers throughout the whole world also. So, my advice is get 3 samples and smell them. Really, yeah. You can tell the difference pretty quick.
The nose knows, right?
The nose does know.
Olga, we'll go back to you for the next one. What are some extracts that brands can look at when formulating plant-based skincare products without using chemicals?
Sure, yeah. Botanicals, herbal extracts are available in such abundance and variety, and they offer so many possibilities. So depending on what effect we want to reach in the product on the skin, we use different extracts. We always try to find EcoCert certified ones. As Laurie said, it's really important. This organization was established in France in 1991, and they check products ingredients for the presence of parabens, fragrances, animal products, silicones. So the natural and organic cosmetic label has a minimum of 95% of all plant-based ingredients in the formula. So I can give you some examples of botanicals that we use. We use a large number of antioxidants. So antioxidants are the molecules that inhibit or stops the oxidations of other molecules. Antioxidants naturally occur in plants, animals, plant-based foods like vegetables, and our own body also naturally produces a complex system of antioxidants to combat oxidation. So many herbal extracts have this antioxidant quality in them. For example, calendula, hibiscus, ginkgo biloba, licorice, chamomile. That's our favorite extracts that we use in our formula. And combinations of these actives have anti-aging, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, moisturizing, and soothing properties. We also love to use polyphenols. Polyphenols are naturally occurring phytochemicals or micronutrients that are found abundantly in fruits, vegetables, red wine, tea, plant oils, to name a few. So phytochemicals are important because they have potent antioxidant properties which help protect cells from free radicals. Our favorite polyphenols in our formulas called Malt Secret. It's the active is sourced from malted barley. It's a byproduct of beer production and is a concentrate of purified polyphenols. And we also like one called Pantrafina. It's a botanical active ingredient derived from pinus bark extract solubilized in glycerin. So this marine pine survives and thrives in extreme environmental conditions. It flourishes in places too sunny or too windy or too dry for other plants to grow. And Pantrafina improves the synthesis of collagen type 1 and aids in the recovery process of fibroblasts exposed to oxidative stress. It plays an active role in stimulation of energetic metabolism. It's a great anti-pollution agent, and it acts both as a strong antioxidant and an effective soothing agent. We also use a lot of natural emollients, natural plant oils. Our favorite are meadow foam seed oil, avocado oil, grapeseed oil. We also use butters like cocoa butter, shea butter, mango butter. We always try to find organic.
That's amazing. The wonder of nature, right?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, especially the pine bark extract, right? When it survives like that, it also helps your skin survive through stress that you go through. So that's amazing.
Exactly.
Very
That's why they were chosen. Yeah.
Excellent. Laurie, we'll go back to you for this next question. And we'll talk about the small batch approach to skincare. And how can brands out there ensure that they have the highest standards when it comes to their integrity and their approach to small batch skincare?
They're going to need to find a good lab. And it's really hard to find a good lab that will do small runs. So that's going to be the biggest challenge for an indie brand to start. And once you do, you really need to do your research before you go and hire that lab, because you don't even know what you're hiring them to do. You know that you might like these beautiful botanicals and these beautiful oils, and you mix them in your kitchen and you put it on your face. But that to actually launch a line, you need to have your stabilization and test for bacteria and pH. You have to have an Olga on board in your skincare lab to know what you really need to have to produce a great product that's going to be stabilized on those shelves. When somebody opens that up, it hasn't separated, it isn't moldy, it's going to be good for a year. And there's so many factors that you don't know as a layperson. And I think Google what should you look for in a skincare lab, and you're going to come up with a number of different answers, but at least you're educating yourself before you go in there.
Great. That's a great answer. And it kind of tees up our next question, which is about preservatives. And so Olga, let's talk about preservatives a little bit in skincare, because there seem to be some consumer misconceptions about the use of essential oils versus preservatives versus natural alternatives to things like parabens. Can you kind of demystify these terms and kind of help us understand them?
Sure. Yeah. I know that some companies claim that they can preserve their formula with essential oils and vitamin E, but I am pretty much convinced that it's impossible. You cannot really preserve a formula which contains water and oil with just essential oils and vitamin E. Yeah, they will help preserve it, but they could not be single preservatives.
Really?
So, yeah.
Okay.
There are several options that people can use for natural preservatives. Lately, it's popular to use bacteria to preserve skincare formula, although it sounds ironic. For example, we use a preservative called Natapress. It's an alternative natural preservative that comes from radishes fermented with the lactic acid bacteria that has been used to make traditional Korean dish kimchi.
Wow.
And there is a company, Active Microtechnologies, that developed techniques to combine the performance of botanical extracts and fermentation products with the natural defense mechanism employed by microorganisms. So bacteria try to protect themselves from other bacteria, and they produce those peptides that this company purifies and use them as a anti-protection from other bacteria. Fermentation is a natural process that releases the plant's active components while delivering additional nutrients. For example, lucidal liquid is a probiotic-based ingredient created by fermentation of lactobacillus in a defined growth medium. So they produce, lactobacillus produces this novel antimicrobial peptides. They're called bacteriocins that are capable of providing broad spectrum antimicrobial protection. And it is now on the whole food acceptable premium preservative list. It is approved for use as an ingredient in EcoCert certified organic products. The other type of antimicrobial peptide is created from fermenting coconut with lactobacillus. Coconut oil has been traditionally used to treat skin disorders, yeast infections, ringworm, and even athlete's food. And about 50% of the total fatty acid content of coconut oil are medium chain triglycerides, MCTs, that exhibit natural antifungal activity. MCTs work by disrupting the cellular structures of fungus and destroying them before they can wreak havoc. So this company basically has harnessed natural phytocompounds and lipopeptides from coconut to produce a novel antifungal material. In a skincare formula, you always have to worry not only about bacteria growth, but also about fungal growth. So you always have to find natural preservatives that would combine these functions, antimicrobial and antifungal. Yeah, and that's about it.
Thank you for that. The science is so fascinating. I really think so.
Yeah, especially the coconut oil part, right? I mean, we've noticed how antimicrobial it is. You have like a rash or something, you put it and it's gone the next day. So
Exactly.
Oil.
So this way you can not only preserve your skincare product, but you also have some other good qualities in this preservative, like moisturizing, soothing. So it's like multifunctional.
Excellent. Thank you, Olga. Now let's transition from science into technology and get Sukanya involved here. In the world of tech, how can brands use technology to launch into retail stores? Driving up revenues is a challenge for all brands, whether they are indie or corporate. And so how can these tech solutions bring awareness to indie brands And how can platforms like Correlate be a game changer for both consumers and brand owners?
Right. Yeah. So, like we talked about before, we talked about the consumer behavior shift, and the problem is actually has three segments to it. One part is the shift in consumer trends. The other side is the retail landscape itself, which is continually changing and evolving to bring in zero waste and refill stores, and even big box retailers like Target now want to bring in direct to consumer brands like, say, a Casper mattress or a Quip toothbrush or a native deodorant. Why do they do this? Because these brands have like a very loyal consumer base, not just on social, but on their buying platform. So these brands understand buying behavior from each and every customer. So that data is invaluable to retailers like Target. And these brands have this loyalty with this consumer base that today the stats say 54% of customers will actually walk out of stores if they don't see a brand that they're familiar with, and they actually buy regularly on, say, an Etsy or directly on Instagram shops. So this is the moving trend that retailers have to deal with. And then on the other side, we have brands that have hit a plateau. So they're tired of spending on Instagram ads to drive revenue, and they need brick and mortar retail to kind of drive consumer awareness. So, and they have this ethos of they want to partner with stores that agree with their ideology, like, say, an eco-consciousness. So essentially what Correlate does is we cater to consumer trends by connecting these brands with retailers that look for very specific search terms. So our algorithm kind of like pumps out data that matches with these requirements. Say a retailer wants to source a minority-owned business which is phthalate-free or palm oil-free, but at the same time is located close to them. So they're supporting the whole, shop local movement. So combining all of these factors and finding a brand becomes a challenge because they'll have to do it Instagram searches and Google searches continually. So we kind of bring this ecosystem into play where they can pick and choose from and actually have these brands that have a social mission at heart on their shelves. So that's how Correlate bridges all of these segments together.
Perfect. That's a perfect answer. So that's our last question that we have, and so let's open it up to the audience. If anyone has any questions, feel free to use them to ask them using the questions feature. We have one in here. I think, Olga, this one might be good for you. And it's, how can brands source some of the natural preserving agents? So if you have any tips or tricks or know of any suppliers, it might be a good time to mention those.
Yeah, the main thing is to do a lot of research. This is the main thing when you look for any ingredients, including natural preservative. Developing trusting relationship with the vendor, get certificate from the vendor, for example, I like the company called Formulated Sample Shop, which has a good selection of natural products, including natural preservatives, and they can give you all certificates and information, and yeah.
Great, thank you. I don't see any other questions, so I think we'll use this opportunity to wrap it up. I want to say thanks everyone for attending. Thank you to our expert panelists. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I hope everybody else has. We look forward to talking more about trends, the science behind them, and how technology can help weave all of those patterns together in our next webinar. Thanks everybody for attending, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.